Are you able to get everybody you need in here, or is there somebody on call?
Yeah,
that's fine.
they're kind of hanging here.
Not a problem. You guys know your business.
Anytime you're ready.
I'm good. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. You got everybody you need, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up on the agenda are the Irvington Police Department commendations. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, we just wrapped up Police Week, and for those of you that might not know, in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week of May 15th, National Police Week. This established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. So I would like to thank and remember Patrolman George E. Dugan, who gave the ultimate sacrifice on March 3rd, 1929, while serving this community. National Police Week is also a collaborative effort by many organizations dedicated to honoring America's law enforcement community that serves today. So I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the members of law enforcement who continue to serve and protect their communities. And I would especially like to thank our Irvington police officers, both retired and current, for their dedicated service each and every day. Throughout the past year, your hard work, professionalism, and tireless efforts have not gone unnoticed. From patrolling the streets to investigating crimes, and from supporting victims to fostering positive community relationships, each of you plays a vital role in ensuring the safety and well-being of our community members. Together, we've overcome challenges, upheld the values of integrity and justice, and made a meaningful difference in the lives of those we serve. So I want to extend my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for your continued dedication to excellence. Almost weekly, I receive emails, cards, or comments from the community with gratitude towards all for what you do. And I'm truly proud of each of you. I would also like to thank the community for their continued support throughout the year. And with that being said, I try to hold the annual award ceremony during or as close as possible to Police Week to show my support for the hard work that's being done each day by our officers here in Irvington. So without further ado, I'd like to call up first Police Officer Ryan Burnett. Stand over here, Ryan. This is the Meritorious Police Duty Medal. On March 6, 2024, while off duty and in your personal vehicle, Officer Burnett witnessed what was later learned to be a fatal pedestrian-involved motor vehicle accident. While waiting at a stoplight, Officer Burnett observed a vehicle strike a female riding a scooter and ultimately dragged the female a short distance before coming to a stop. Without concern for his own safety, he immediately exited his vehicle and began to render aid to the victim, all while ensuring first responders were being contacted. He provided immediate assistance until FDNY arrived, and he provided crucial evidence to the NYPD investigative unit by giving his personal dash camera footage and providing detailed narratives of the event. The Meritorious Police Duty Medal is awarded to Police Officer Ryan Burnett for demonstrating brave and intelligent police services. Stay up here.
Stay out of the way. Stay.
I'd like to call up Detective John Nairati. On November 11th, 2023, Detective John Nairati and Police Officer Ryan Burnett were dispatched to a medical aided call for an adult male that was unconscious. Upon arrival to the scene, you both encountered an unresponsive male who was having cardiac arrest. Detective Nairati and Officer Burnett, you both immediately initiated life-saving measures, including CPR and the use of an AED. Subsequent to the skillful administration of these life-saving measures, the male was successfully resuscitated and transported to a local hospital for further treatment. The life-saving medal is awarded to Detective John Nairati and to Police Officer Ryan Burnett for demonstrating keen observational skills and effectually applying immediate medical aid, which resulted in the saving of a life. Congratulations.
I'm sure I speak for the whole board, but since I was there for the life-saving acts that you two engaged in, I just want to say it was remarkable, and thank you for your service to the village.
One. And lastly, the unit citation medal. The unit citation medal is being awarded to the following members: Lieutenant Michael Morano, come on up. Lieutenant Michael Foley, I'm just going to go through the names real quick. Sergeant Stephen Delacoli, who's not present. Sergeant Ryan Weiss, who's next door. Sergeant Peter Warnicki, not present. Sergeant Paul Rabibero, please come up. Oh, I'm sorry, Pete.
I just got
I apologize.
Okay.
Sergeant Anthony Capadora, let me just double check, I don't think he's here. Sergeant Matthew Eckert, who's not here. Detective John Nairati. Officer Anthony De Laurentiis. Officer Scott Dunleavy. Officer Thomas DeCampoli. Officer Anthony DiNardo. Officer Ryan Burnett. Officer Omar Oviedo. Officer Jonathan Bloomfield. Officer Estefania Mejia. And Officer Patrick Garvey.
Not enough people left in the audience to clap, so.
In recognition of the exceptional dedication and professionalism, the Irvington Police Department proudly presents this unit citation to the members you see before you and those not present who exemplified unwavering commitment and skill during the planning and staffing of the visit of the President of the United States of America on April 25th, 2024. Their steadfast service ensured the safety and security of our community while upholding the highest standards of excellence. Their courage, teamwork, and tireless efforts reflected great credit upon themselves, the village, and the Irvington Police Department. So once again, I'd like to thank all of you and all the members of the Irvington Police Department for their continued hard work and the community for the continued support. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and again, I think I speak for the board, but we really appreciate everything you did that day. And since I got back here relatively late and many of you were still here, I know it was a long day, so thank you. Actually, that was only one of the long days. I'm sure there were plenty in preparation in advance. Thank you. Thanks. You too. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Next up is announcements. First, Memorial Day ceremonies will be Monday, May 27th at 10 a.m. at the Main Street Memorials. And then I think there's a second ceremony at Memorial Park. The Irvington Summer Festival is Sunday, June 2nd. Is there a starting time that I can?
12 to 4.
12 to 4.
And it'll be up and down Main Street.
Okay. And the Pride celebration will be Saturday, June 2024. I think that's 3 to 5. Sorry, what did I say? June 8th.
Yeah, you didn't say anything.
Oh, June, thank you. June 8th. I can't read my own handwriting. Saturday, June 8th, 3 to 5 p.m., yes, in front of the Main Street School.
Correct.
I got that right. Okay, good. And now I'm switching to checks over 25,000. If I can find them anyway. Okay, so A. Borelli I got it, sorry, just had to scroll through. A. Borelli Mechanical, $32,224.06 for the theater HVAC project. Pacific Trends Global Construction Corp. For the Senior Center Energy Management Project, $80,412.50. And I'm sure you've conveyed to them the message that it's not okay to bill however number of months late it was, at least it's still in this fiscal year.
Yes.
I assume that was their doing and not ours to get those all collected. So, okay. Enough said. And I'm also announcing a public hearing to consider a local law amending the nuisance chapter of the village code with respect to gas-powered sprayers. Just to give a little bit of color to that, when the law was adopted, it was a little overly broad. It included truck-mounted sprayers, which are required to reach the highest portions of trees. And since beech leaf disease is upon us, that is really the only effective way of treating this. But the law continues in effect with respect to gas-powered leaf blowers or any other portable sprayers. Is there anything either of you wanted to add to that? Okay.
No.
Okay. Correspondence.
Can you do a
Sure.
motion and a second to call for that public hearing?
Sorry. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
A motion to have a public hearing on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 7 PM in Village Hall to consider a local law amending the nuisance chapter of the Village Code with respect to gas-powered sprayers. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that polite reminder. Correspondence. So we had a few more deer-related letters, two in favor, and one was a letter from PETA that I summarized in the work session, but I'm gonna just go through it again, at least briefly. PETA wanted to sort of point out that the forests are dynamic. You cannot expect to see the same forest now that you saw 100 or even 30 years ago. The suggestion is that killing or otherwise removing individual deer won't work to control populations in the long run. If the area remains attractive, they will breed at an accelerated rate. And they are introducing me to somebody, although the board members expressed their opinions on this in the previous work session and will make decisions about it in the future. PETA is introducing me to somebody who will discuss with me, and I can share it with everybody, sort of an integrative approach that does not involve hunting, I'm assuming. They also talked about using tree shelters and cages to protect existing trees, and various forestry techniques in terms of opening the canopy to bring in more light and create plant and insect diversity. I think unfortunately we're going to get some of that because of the beech leaf disease as the trees start to fall. And I think that's it for that one. And we also got Pride-related correspondence. We got, I believe it was 32 letters. All of them were in favor of flying the Pride flags. They expressed it in different ways. They viewed the flags as, I'm going to try to summarize, welcoming, inclusive, reflecting diversity, against discrimination. The flags are not about sex. And some of these letters actually came from members of the local clergy, prospective members of the village board, people who've been nominated, not subject to election.
Unanimous letter from the DEI.
Correct, I'm getting there, but yes, there was a DEI, in fact, I was actually gonna read that one if I can find it. Let me do that if I can. Of course, it's about halfway through. Okay. I think I flagged it for myself, it's page 30. No, I flagged it based on the numbering of the pages here. Got it, okay. This came from the village's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We're writing to express our unequivocal support for the display of pride flags in Irvington. As we approach Pride Month, we're especially aware of the importance of the flags in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in our village. The pride flag has a long history and symbolizes not only the struggles and triumphs of the LGBTQ plus community, but also represents hope and acceptance. Created in 1978, the colors of the flag represent red for life, orange healing, yellow sunlight, green nature, indigo serenity, violet spirit. And there's certainly attributes we want to highlight in our village. Pride is a feeling that you respect yourself and deserve to be respected by others. Often members of identity groups who experience bias have a strong need to feel and express pride. One of the reasons Red June is dedicated to honoring this community is that LGBTQ plus people are not well represented or included when we discuss and teach history. Pride symbols place LGBTQ plus people in the center of our narratives. By raising the pride flag, we honor a history of activism and send a message of support to LGBTQ plus individuals. Displaying the flag fosters a sense of belonging and unity, encourages dialogue and education for multicultural empathy and respect. It's a powerful symbol of progress, reminding us of the history of the Pride movement. At the same time, it reminds us of the continued movement for equality and justice. And they thanked the board for our commitment. And we did make clear in responding to people that we do intend to fly the Pride flag in June, which is the Pride, the month for commemorating Pride. Let's see. I think that's it for that one. One more letter. Joey Sotiel, I think I got that pronunciation right. Okay. His letter thanks us, or thanks the folks who are responsible for the art installation of the Bulldogs returning. And I know, Arlene, you've been heavily involved in that. He also juxtaposes that with the irony that real dogs are not fully welcome in the village, particularly along our waterfront parks and paths. And points out that he frequents Terrytown and Sleepy Hollow instead of Irvington because he can bring his dog inside many businesses on Main Street and Beekman Avenue. Without disputing the legality of what he's describing, I'm sure he can. I know that the coffee roaster, Lab Coffee Roaster there does allow it. There are health regulations that prohibit that in certain types of businesses. But having said that, at our last meeting, we did ask, and I sent an email to RPAC and to the rec department, asking them to take a look at what we can do to make either current parks dog friendly, as for example Halsey Pond already is, and if there are alternative locations for a dog park. The one that we had potentially in the capital budget is just too expensive. It's $675,000. Part of that is because we have to do things to accommodate people as required by the ADA legislation. So more to come on that particular subject. Public comment. Does anybody want to say anything? Anybody at home? Okay. Then we'll do the consent agenda. I have only one question, and then I'll do this the way you'd like me to do it, Larry. And that is on the tax warrant. That reflects the operating budget, correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
the operating budget, plus any exemptions that were removed last year and not paid, those got re-levied, and any unpaid water bills also got re-levied.
And while this may be a self-serving opportunity for you, would you like to say something about the penalties that people often will complain about? Am I correct that those are legislative, they're regulatory, as opposed to, they're not something, when somebody pays late?
Right, yeah, we can't, remove the late penalty. And there's exclusions. It says if you didn't receive the bill in the mail, the penalty can't be waived. It's almost like income taxes, like you know they're gonna be due, so you
And
should expect
The,
to pay.
what are the two village cutoff? Yeah, there's two village cutoff dates.
So for the first half, they're due by end of day, July 1st, and then the second half will be December 31st.
Okay, so if you're out there and you don't get your village tax bill, it would be a good idea to call or email Village Hall and find out.
And they'll
Okay.
be available online too.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Say again?
You're making it.
All right, I'll make the motion. You're making me do all the work. Okay, it's a motion to adopt the consent agenda, which is minutes of the village board, appointment of personnel and water department, issuance of peddler's permit for Jimmy Soft Serve, reappointment of personnel in rec and parks department, appointment of personnel in library, authorization to include unpaid water rents and penalties in the 2024 annual tax levy, and approval of 2024-25 tax warrant. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next up is approval of sustainability director, which is followed by the farmer's market manager contract, and the only reason I mentioned them in the same breath, they are both the same contract as the prior year? That was a question, not a statement.
The
Roughly.
farmer's market is the same, the sustainability director is
Changes, right?
increased by 5,000, but that was in
Got it.
accordance with the budget discussions. we
Sure.
had.
I got you. All right. Sorry, I'm still scrolling so I can get to where I need to here. Okay, if nobody else has any questions with regard to the sustainability director contract, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the contract for Charlotte Binns as the sustainability director for the term June 1, 2024 to December 31, 2024, at the rate of $65 per hour for up to $1,000 annually. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Apologize for one quick correction to that resolution. I believe it should be June 1st, 24 to May 31st, 25. Should be a full year, so I
Got it.
apologize.
Okay.
I believe the contract,
I was gonna ask how you're breaking up the 1,000
No,
hours,
no, no.
but you've now answered the question, so.
No, that's a full year contract.
I'm making the motion again, except this time instead of December 31,
Yeah.
it's May 31.
Yep.
You wanna second that again? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. All right, the approval of farmer's market manager contract, which is item 9. The motion is resolved to authorize the village administrator to execute an agreement with Pascal Ladrulek to manage the farmer's market for the village of Irvington for an annual fee of $50,000 from June 1, 2024 to May 31, 2025. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, item 10, intermunicipal agreement with the New York State Police to participate in the TRAX, traffic and accident reporting system. Anybody have any questions on this one? I think we actually did maybe you and I discussed this, has everybody else had an opportunity to? It's pretty straightforward.
This is a renewal, by
Got
the
it.
way. This is
Yeah.
not,
This last year, because
yeah, I don't know if it's every year, but
I
it,
think it's every 5 years.
Yeah, it's-
I mean, when is this happening?
It's a 5-year
Yeah,
contract,
I think Larry may have just mentioned
Starting
it in a previous
Yeah.
meeting,
I
just so
had
we knew about it.
2013
Okay.
anyway. I had a bunch of them in my files. 2008, I think
Okay.
it started.
Well, I did not have questions on this, so the motion is resolved to authorize the village administrator to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the New York State Police, allowing the village to participate in the TRAX ticket and accident reporting system. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Agreement with the Irvington Volunteer Ambulance Corps. This one probably either one of the two folks who were involved in negotiating may want to say a little something about this. So, no, yes?
I guess you were pointing to me.
It could be either way.
Yeah. No, it's,
Yeah, I mean, the purpose, of course, is to ensure that the ambulance corps is fully funded for the purpose of protecting the people in the village. And if you want to give a little more detail, go ahead.
Right, well, without going through the various complicated terms that are in here, the basis of this agreement is to pay the Irvington Volunteer Ambulance Corps a set amount for every time they have a fully staffed shift. And of course, a fully staffed shift is defined in this agreement. But the goal, as stated by the board in some various work sessions that you had, was to ensure that the ambulance corps was active and in service and that we weren't relying on mutual aid to any great degree. So this agreement, if you work out all the formulas and sections of this contract, this agreement basically says that IVAC will be paid essentially the full contract amount cap, which is $120,000, as long as they reach about a 93% in service, 93% of the shifts are covered. Oh, yeah, no, it's smart, yeah. So that's essentially the way it works out. If they fall below that threshold, then they will not receive the full amount of the contract. There's other provisions in here that get much more complicated than, take a few times to read over and over, but it basically says that, if they reach that threshold, then they get their full amount. There's also another fairly complicated section that talks about their default on the contract, and that threshold for default is certainly far, far different. There's a much higher bar in order for them to be in a default condition. But should they happen to get to that point, and they're unable to cover, certain levels of shifts over a certain window of time, then the village has the right to terminate the contract and seek services elsewhere, if it were to come to that. Of course, we don't expect it to come to that, but that provision's in there.
And I think it would be fair to say on that note that the contract also suggests that they look to find other methods to help shore up their ability to provide the coverage. Now, right, talking to other communities, whether it's cross coverage or mergers or whatever.
Two comments I'd make to that excellent review. One is we agreed at about a 93% coverage, and just to understand that that's compared to an under 67% coverage that they had last year. And the second point I would make is I am aware that they've already at least brought out some feelers to other ambulance corps, so they weren't waiting necessarily for the board to officialize this, but they've already started some outreach.
That's great. That's great news. Yeah. And I'm sure if it hasn't been conveyed already, you'll let them know that because we have the periodic village officials committee meetings, we're happy to help at whatever level, with other mayors, other village administrators, because you don't want them to get in the way if the ambulance corps are trying to do something productive.
No, it'll be an active process, obviously, now that you're financially invested in this, it'll be a much more active process.
Okay. So the motion is resolved to approve an agreement dated May 13, 2024 with the Irvington Volunteer Ambulance Corps for the provision of ambulance services to the Village of Irvington effective June 1, 2024 for a term of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $120,000, and further resolved to authorize the village administrator to execute said agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You earned it. You should have earned it.
Well, no, I wasn't sure if that was a conflict.
Okay. Appointment of a climate smart communities coordinator. I think it's pretty straightforward, so I'll read the proposed resolution, and if anybody has questions, I can ask me. The resolution is resolved to establish the role of climate smart communities coordinator, specifically to focus on organizing volunteer efforts, engaging with new volunteer recruits, advancing task work, and uploading submissions to the NYSERDA Climate Smart Communities Program website, and further resolve to appoint Charlotte Binns as Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, policy on recycling in the village. I think people on the board had some questions which were answered, but do you want to give a little bit of background on this one?
I can, or if Lisa, you're welcome to,
Sure.
do you want to say a few words? Yeah, sure.
Well, as Larry pointed out, it's pretty much almost done. Everybody in the village wants to be recycling. Joan Nelson and I walked around a little bit on Friday. We started at Village Hall. We went across the street to the firehouse, the library, and the senior center, just sort of randomly, unannounced, to sort of spot and just to see where everybody was at. And I guess it's maybe not surprising, but there was only one place in that limited scope that was to code, and that was the building department. They were only, it was funny, right? Thanks. They were missing the educational sorting poster, but we remedied that, and now they get the gold star. Most offices and the library were trying to use those big green rectangular bins that I always assumed were for curbside outside pickup. They're a little cumbersome. None of them are labeled, so you don't know which one is for clean paper, which one's for, bottles and cans, that sort of thing. The senior center was using a milk crate for recycling. There's no labels or educational posters. We're gonna go to the senior center in July and do like a little workshop and go over everything and maybe do food scrap collection, and we'll see. But I do wanna emphasize that every location wants to be recycling, and it was the heartwarming part of the inspections. The challenge now will simply be getting everyone across the village the materials they need, which are 2 labeled bins for resources to be recycled, 2 streams, 1 labeled bin for resources to be wasted, and 1 educational sorting poster. We are trying to be very careful with our language and change the mindset in our community to that of a circular economy. A circular economy means all materials are to be constantly reused or recycled, often changing their purpose as they move through the cycle. What was surplus in one part of the system becomes food or fuel in another part of the system. And we want to get away from the word trash in our lexicon. Okay, instead everything is a resource. But again, everyone's enthusiasm of all your employees was contagious. So thank you all for your
That's great.
leadership, and how you engage with your employees is really important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your efforts.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let me read the resolution on the policy on recycling in village buildings.
Can I ask one question? I should ask.
Of course.
I 1000% support this. I'm just curious, is there a cost attached to this because we have to buy some bins or whatever?
Yeah,
Or
but
we have
they're,
them around, or?
it's very minor, that's.
Yeah.
It would be probably around, I would guess, between $100 and $200 for the whole.
Yeah, I just want to know what I'm agreeing to. I 1000% support it. Don't worry. I just kind of wanted the information, so.
It depends on, what people want.
That's
Their
fine.
space.
That's absolutely fine.
The good news is the village has been trying to do something like this for 10 years. I'm reminded of Thanksgiving, when I was appointed the recycling czar about 10 years ago, and would take home all of the cardboard and the aluminum foil. And anyway, so I'm glad to see it's happening. All right, let's see if I can read through this. Whereas increasing the rate of recycling reduces energy use and makes efficient use of limited resources, and whereas people are more likely to recycle when it is easy and convenient, and whereas placing recycle bins next to all trash bins makes recycling easier, provides a visual reminder to recycle items when possible, and reminds employees that they work for a government that is committed to the goal of sustainability. Now therefore be it resolved to place 2 recycling bins, 1 bin for paper and 1 bin for commingled bottles and cans, wherever there is a trash bin in its government buildings, and further resolved to provide and require the placement of proper educational sorting signs wherever there is trash and recycle bin combination, and further resolve that the Irvington Department of Public Works will collect the recycling materials according to its regular curbside pickup policies and schedule, and further resolve that each department head within the Village of Irvington shall ensure the appropriate staff or contractor is properly collecting and transporting any collected recyclable materials to the proper location according to the Department of Public Works curbside pickup policies and schedule, and further resolved to forward a copy of this resolution to each department head within the village and all others deemed necessary and proper. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next up is approval of a memorandum of agreement with the Irvington Police Association. And this, actually, do you want to give a little bit on this? It's codifying essentially one open item on the union contract?
Yeah, so the previous union contract provided for either party to opt out of the annual salary increase for the final 2 years of the contract, so effective June 1st, 24 and effective June 1st, 25. And that was done because of the level of uncertainty on which way the economy was going, inflation. There was a whole series of things that were in flux at the time of the original settlement. So both parties, either party had the ability to opt out. In this case, the PBA did opt out, and that commenced negotiations. Those negotiations led to and it could only be negotiated, the only provision that could be negotiated was the salary increase, no other provisions of the contract. So that provision was negotiated, and what was settled upon was 3.5% increase for June 1st, 2024, and 3.5% increase for June 1st of 2025. And that's what you're codifying here.
Got it. Anybody have questions?
We went over it when we talked about it.
No problem. So the resolution is resolved to approve a memorandum of agreement with the Irvington Police Association, Inc., providing for revised salary schedules effective June 1, 2024 and June 1, 2025. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Non-union salary modifications for 2024 and 2025. And I'll make the one correction when I go through this. Larry, do you want to talk a little bit about why or the philosophy behind this one?
Yeah, so these are non-union increases, and typically the increases have been consistent with the CSEA union contract, although we're not, of course, bound to that. And that increase for 2024, June 1st, 2024, is 3.5%. Except for the one change that you mentioned there.
Okay, yeah, right, and so I'll just call that out, the police chief's salary, which I think is listed as 210,292, should be 212,324. Otherwise, the rest of the list is correct. If anyone have any questions?
Because I noticed Maureen's listed as assistant, is that because?
That's a mistake. Thank you.
Okay. I thought it was something to do with the
No, it's
rules
not.
and the, yeah, okay.
No, the salary is correct, but the
Got it,
title.
okay.
Okay.
So
We'll
it's
fix that.
superintendent of rec.
So
and
thank you.
Salary is correct. Okay.
It's not something that you, Larry, that I always default to that there's some rule, not that there's a mistake made.
That's to your credit.
Yeah, you should probably default to mistake. No, but thank you, though.
Okay, so the resolution is resolved to modify the annual salaries and hourly rates effective on the dates below, effective June 1, 2024. And I'm not gonna read through this endless list, unless anybody has any questions. So I will take a motion to second, or does anyone want a second? Sorry, that was my
Second.
motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Change order number 2 for contract 2217 from McLaren Engineering for the Matheson Park stage design. This is intended to make sure we can get a plan, a workable plan for this. But there's more to it than that, so since you gave it to at least some of us today, you might as well
Right,
do it.
right. Yeah, so
repeat.
in last year's capital budget, actually the year before's capital budget, you provided for about $185,000 worth of design money. We had only spent about $65,000 of that contract. And we got to a point where the budget numbers started coming in, and we needed to halt any further design until we got the budget really dealt with. We, at that point, applied for pretty sizable $500,000 Parks grant from New York State. And so we did not do anything during that time while we were waiting to secure the funding. That funding did come through. There's still additional monies that are needed as part of the capital budget, which, as of the last discussion on Wednesday night, those monies, should you ultimately end up borrowing them, would be pushed off until basically this next year, the summer of 2025, for construction. In the meantime, if you're going to start any sort of construction next summer, you really should get restarted on the design. You have the money in the bank for that. The change order is simply an alteration of the existing contract with the design team to reflect their salary increases since we last signed the contract with them. It's about a 4.2% increase, which is over 2 years, essentially, since this was originally signed with the design team. So that's what this is about. And again, if there's any hope of trying to have some sort of construction during next summer or into the fall possibly, assuming that capital budget gets approved, you need to do the design work now.
It's also, as I think we talked about, I guess Larry Lonke was there as well today, an opportunity perhaps, as they're doing it, to look at other ways to make it a lot more financially efficient.
Yeah.
Since it's not a cheap item.
Yeah, we're going to look very closely
yeah.
at some of the elements, especially the level of equipment that's needed on that stage, which would then drive the level of electricity that's needed, which would drive the cost of the electric service, which is really a big component that was unexpected. So
Yeah.
we're going to try to balance all that out. I mean, will it be a Broadway quality stage? Probably not. Will it be more than just a shell? Yes, but it's going to be somewhere in
Yeah.
between.
And,
What do we have now?
Yeah,
That is
that is true.
And also, if you, as we talked about, if you were short in some aspect, you could have a generator out there on a pad on a temporary basis to add to the power that's available, so.
And we'll include the various departments that all have interest in what's gonna go on there,
Yeah.
particularly the theater and.
Which we have up
And
to that
rec,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the resolution is resolved to approve change order number 2 for contract 2022-17 with McLaren Engineering and Land Surveying PC for consulting services relating to the Matheson Park Stage project in the amount of $124,600 and authorize the village administrator to execute said change order. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Reports of board standing committees and officers. You want to start at that end?
I have no.
Okay. Larry?
Deadline to register for day camp is quickly approaching. Register soon. Grades are filling up. Deadline is June 14th. Registration is ongoing for Teenscape Session 2. Current 7th and 8th graders, limited spots. Deadline is June 1st. Limited spots available for summer youth basketball and the Lego workshop, which is current kindergarten through 2nd grade, begins Tuesday, May 21st. And just a reminder, all these signups can be done online through the site. RPAC has their monthly meeting this Wednesday, 7 p.m. at IK Benjamin Community Center. If you're 55 years of age and older and not a member of the Senior Citizen Group, please contact Senior Citizen Director Joan Armstrong for information on how to become a member. Recent events, the senior citizens went to New York City this past Wednesday to attend a Broadway show. It was a great evening. The Garden Club had a plant sale, this past Saturday at the O'Hara Nature Center. It was very successful. That's it.
Actually, on that, since you mentioned the seniors, and they had come in at a recent meeting, we, thanks to, I think, Joan and our superintendent of rec, Maureen, there's a bulletin board there now. So if anybody's got something that is relevant to them, email it to, I guess, Maureen or Joan, and they will put it up there. I mean, hopefully they will start to put the agendas up there, just so that they won't feel like, hey, they missed something that way, whether they have a computer or not, they can see what's going on. Anyway, Rich?
As to the theater, I don't know, people remember going back to at least 2017, the theater has done a series called In Our Own Words, where they have people come and talk about a particular issue. The past ones in person before the pandemic included transgender, immigration, some really great, really interesting programs. And they're doing one virtually this week, starting today, called We Salute You, Remembering Fallen Heroes. So the first, it's all online and it's all free, so you can go to the irvingtontheater.com and check it out. The first one today dropped today, so I encourage everyone to do that. And hopefully this will be the last ever virtual In Our Words series. Hopefully the next time we have an In Our Words event, and I'm sitting here, I'll be telling you about going into the theater since we're hoping to open up in the fall. And the library, just please make sure, and do you contribute to this, didn't you in some way? The In Our Words, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you want to come see.
I wasn't gonna promote myself, however, but yes.
But I'll do it for you.
Okay.
So there you go. And as for the library, they have an email every 2 weeks, and if you're not getting it, I don't know what you're doing wrong, because there's so much good stuff in there, and everyone should be looking and seeing what they're doing.
So the Irvington Green Policy Task Force and the Garden Club of Irvington, together with its partners, the Friends of the Old Croton Aqueduct, near NYS Parks, Irvington Rec, O'Hare Nature Center, the Greater Irvington Land Trust, Pollinator Pathways, and the DPW organized a special cleanup on the Croton Aqueduct in Irvington on May 4th, the I Love My Parks Day. Enthusiastic volunteers of all ages gathered to remove a large amount of non-invasive plants from the OCA in the northern and central part of the village of Irvington. Following the removal, the GPTF group planted over 20 different species of native plants in the OCA community pollinator garden, thanks to financial support from the Greater Irvington Land Trust and donations from Bedford 2030 and the GPTF members. The crew was rewarded with a delicious vegan pesto made of garlic, mustard, and hummus, and fresh veggies. There was a cheerful atmosphere filled with camaraderie. Everyone was happy to contribute to an important cause. It was excellent teamwork. Those events are always awesome. Let's see. They're good, hard work, but they're rewarding, right? Yeah. Okay. And then from Charlotte also gave me an update. The Climate Smart Communities Committee has 171 out of 300 points approved or completed towards silver certification, with another 161 points being actively worked on by 16 different volunteers. They meet weekly and people have been very involved. It's very inspiring. The GPTF continues to recruit. They're up to 38 active members. And active, meaning that they come to subcommittee events and they're involved in running campaigns. And the next climate talk is on June 5th with Amy Larkin. She's the former solutions director at Greenpeace and author of Environmental Debt. She'll be talking about her work with multinationals and nations on plastic and reusable packaging, reusable packaging solutions. And then I also always tell people to go to irvingtongreen.org because there's a lot of information on that website. And they have really more to our website. Okay. Should I read Greg's report from the DPW? So just they repaired 3 catch basins at Field Point Drive, and two at Field Point Drive, 1 at Park Road, Palliser Road intersection. I don't know where that is.
It's near Lewis.
Okay. I don't even know where that is. Okay. And then
Off Panorama.
commence the curb sidewalk ADA portion of the sidewalk at East Sunnyside Lane and Penny Bridge Manor. They inspected and determined removal of hazardous trees at 9 Meadowbrook Road, 1517 South Ferris. Installed railings at Field Point parking lot and assisted. Yeah, this is the most important part. They assisted the Bulldog Gallery Committee with setup. So
They're done?
they're
No,
helping.
they gotta have more, yeah.
They are starting it because they have stored the pedestals, and so I'm sure they started the work because they have to take them
Don't they
out
have
of
to make more?
storage.
They got more?
They don't have to make it. The committee
Oh.
is arranging for 7 more, but so Bulldog Gallery Committee, now the Arts and Culture Committee, is planning the Bulldog Gallery that will be sort of, I guess introduced to celebrated or whatever the opening will be on June 2nd at the Irvington Summer Festival, which will be from 12 to 4. Mitch's band is gonna be playing at some point, right, Mitch? Nope,
great.
look, you like the,
I-
or maybe playing.
Yeah, I offer.
Yes, yeah, so we definitely want to, and other sort of local, people are gonna be doing different things, that the businesses are gonna be, selling goods and services, but the idea is like a party up and down Main Street, and the unveiling of the Bulldogs, there's gonna be a scavenger hunt for kids.
Find the mayor.
They gotta find the mayor as the last thing if they wanna get the little prize at the end. It's gonna be lots of fun.
I don't know, I'm not telling.
Yeah, John's gonna be hiding and not making that so easy for people. I don't know, I'm gonna talk him out of that, and he seems committed to that idea. But anyways, it's really fun. The Bulldogs look amazing. They're super cool and super interesting. People are really, the artists are really good.
That's great.
So it's been really exciting.
When will they be out?
They'll be out June 2nd, right before June 2nd.
So they're not gonna be out for June 1st when people go to the river arts?
Oh, maybe they will be for that. They were gonna be covered, but I think that's right. Okay, so we'll
Just because, I
coordinate.
mean, people come and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, no, we'll
There's
coordinate
three
for that.
Irvington locations,
Yeah,
so,
we'll coordinate for that.
Oh, 2 near downtown.
They'll be out, so,
Questions
Maybe
whether
we
you
won't
want to
cover
nail
them.
them. Yeah.
and then I just wanna mention that June, and there'll be more information coming, but that June 22nd, the village is gonna have its celebration of Juneteenth at Villa Luaro, and it's gonna be a celebration of the legacy of Madam C.J. Walker. And that is going to be from 1 to 5 p.m.
Great. Village Administrator, you report?
Well, not quite as interesting as that, but I did receive word from the New York State Thruway Authority that they're going to be working on the pedestrian bridge over 287, 87 along Route 9 up in Tarrytown. And they'll be starting that on June 3rd. And from what we understand, there will be lane closures during the day, 9:30 to 3:30. We're getting all the details right now. To the point where Route 9 will be one lane in each direction at that point. So there's going to be some but that's not during rush hour times, but it's during daytime.
Yeah.
This is
And
north or south?
It will be rush hour the
Where is the
entire
shutdown gonna
day.
be, north or south of the entrance to 287?
It's north of
It's literally the
East-
bridge.
it's the bridge that goes over 287. So
You're
it's
putting
north-
a
it's north.
separate bike
Both
path.
sides, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure how they're gonna, I assume it's also gonna block part of the passageway across the bridge for a time. Because they've gotta put this thing down.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I've been,
And I don't care.
I've run and biked. I do,
What I
I'm
care about
glad, I'm
is
glad
Route
I'm
9.
done training because I'm not getting past there after that starts.
The point of it all is that the work's going to be going on from beginning of June until probably mid-July is what they estimate, where these lane closures are in effect. We're going to be putting out information that is coordinated with both the Thruway Authority and also Legislator Emma Mora's office has been very helpful in making sure that we all have the same message, both Tarrytown and Irvington put out. So you'll be seeing that shortly, probably in the next day or two, and we'll send out reminders as well. But people should plan on it
When
taking
it's
a
done,
little
it's
longer.
gonna be from the looks of it, a great addition. If you bike
Yeah.
and walk.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. Clerk Treasurer's report?
I was gonna report on the tax due dates, but we
Sorry.
covered that already. Nope, that's okay. And I plan on emailing out the numbers based on the changes for the capital budget we discussed during the work session. So I'll email those out this week.
Village Treasurer's report? Okay. Public comment, anybody?
I just wanted to thank.
We know you, but you gotta give you.
David Zweigel.
Thank you.
Don't call me none.
Exactly. Thank the board's response to the bizarreness of the flag issue at the last public meeting. Thank you very much. But I'm here to speak about the dogs. And thank you at the last meeting for Mitch and Arlene speaking up for doing something about dogs on leashes in the parks. And thank you for moving that over to the rec department to look at. And I noticed we had another letter, so in that similar vein. I just wanted to make sure that you guys all know, by the way, I was very involved in the last dog park thing years ago, and the Halderall and the 100-person meetings that occurred as a result of that. I knew a lot of those people, and I still run into them, and we talk about dog issues. One of the things that you should be aware of is the thinking of dog parks has evolved significantly since years ago. And many dog experts are feeling dog parks, e.g. a fenced area where you can let the dogs run wild, is negative for the dogs. And you'll notice some of them are starting to close, and not many new ones are opening up because of this new thinking.
Or what they recommending?
Basically, what happens is dog owners go into the fenced area with their cup of coffee, sit down on the bench, and let their dogs run wild. And we all know, or those dog people among us know, that there are certain dogs that tend to be more bullyish than other dogs. So what happens is these bullies are out there running around and their owners are sipping coffee, and my dog is perfect. We all know everybody's dog is perfect.
Sounds like what people do with it.
Right. What happens is there's a lot of dogs that get bullied. And so those people sort of stop coming to the park because they don't get any benefit for it. So you just get this behavioral activities that are not good for teaching the dogs to be social and proper, because basically the parents are just sitting there drinking coffee and chit-chatting.
Sorry.
So is the leash the mechanism to keep the owners engaged?
So, right, the idea is that it's better to just have dogs on leash.
Well, that's certainly.
Unless you're up in the mountains somewhere and you are by yourself with a dog.
That's easier for the village to get to as well, so.
Exactly. So thank God you didn't spend the $600,000 on that park down there, because
Well,
it's.
occasionally my judgment is impaired, but that didn't seem like a good idea.
Exactly. Be aware of that, and maybe we need to put less attention on trying to get a fenced-in area somewhere, and do more to understand, why in Tarrytown at Scenic Park, they seem to have, a playground that doesn't have a fence around it, they have a splash pool that doesn't have a fence around it, and they have dogs who can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And
There are people.
there are lots of people
And calls.
and balls, and they don't seem to be, disturbing anything. Now, I'm sure they have problems. They have a lot of little doggy bag stands up and down the walkway, but somehow they make it work.
Yeah.
And the people love it. And one of our big issues was, back then, was families feeling like, our little doggy is one of the family. And we want to go play in the park with our doggy when we walk along. And the dog park behind a fence doesn't solve that, whereas, walking or figuring out how to make it work like they do in Tarrytown is where you can bring a young child and your dog and all spend a day in the park. Might work. That's my 2 cents.
That's great.
And I wouldn't have even said this if this was one of those long meetings like you've had.
It's okay. We like dogs. And
Oh, okay.
Former dog owner, I'm with you.
I think that we should definitely take that as part, but I don't
Yeah.
think we should rule out a dog park.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we found the right spot at the right place, it
And the
didn't cost so
right
much.
rules, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Larry, if you would do me a small favor at the next village officials committee meeting, which we know is in Irvington, can you just ask what Tarrytown's experience is on this particular issue?
Sure.
Just to see, you know, whether they had problems or whatever. Because clearly if we do open a park, let's say it's Matheson for people to walk dogs in, it's gonna, in some respects, it's on the honor system. If people trash the park as a consequence and we're spending time picking up, you know, dog crap, then it's not gonna last very long, so.
But hopefully we would have less geese crap.
Yes, yeah, there's.
Because the geese don't like the
I get
smell
it.
of the
Wait for
dog
that
poop.
counter argument, David. I gave you the opening.
Wish has dog cutouts to try and keep away the geese, not even real dogs.
Oh,
Just
interesting,
like little
yeah.
dog statues.
Our geese are too smart for that.
Yeah,
They weren't even
they
afraid of
get
the
smart
real dogs
quickly.
that they sent out.
And then just another side comment, the mayor of Peekskill is spending a lot of time doing a building permit for this make it easy process. So you may want to contact what that mayor is doing and in your process of getting that going.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? Okay, then I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Don't be too eager, people. All right.
Dog to